Well, I've got a good cold open, Michael.
Yes.
It's been the talk of town the last few days.
Yep.
The new Gillette advert.
Oh, yeah, of course. So basically, we're against it, aren't we?
Yeah. Like the way it just says to men, hey, don't be dickheads.
Yeah.
It's very offensive to me.
What I think is most offensive about it is the fact that it suggests that men have the capacity for moral self-improvement. And we all know that the men are garbage. The time when they said that, men shouldn't harass women, that was an attack on masculinity. Because masculinity is all about harassing women.
It's all about, showing how much of a crap person you can be.
Yeah.
And therefore...
attacking crap people.
Yeah, well, if you take, that away from us, then what are we?
Yeah, that's true. Nothing.
No, nothing.
Less than nothing.
We might as well just not exist.
Might as well just be women.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's not go that far.
So I didn't really want to talk about this, but I couldn't help myself. So everyone knows there is a Gillette advert where men are basically encouraged to be better, morally speaking. I've intentionally avoided the reaction to this advert as much as possible, at least outside of my safe space, because I really don't care about the whole thing. But I have an angle I want to address now. But since addressing that angle alone would make this video really, really short, I'm going to just talk about the advert. Also, remember Gillette Free Kick Fusion? That was a great game. Sure made the 12-year-olds who played it when they were in computer rooms at school really want to buy razors. So first things first, I found it kind of heavy-handed, the way the advert has footage of men looking at news reports having an "Are we the baddies" moment. If your intention is to actually change people's minds, then it doesn't make sense to start off in a place where most people aren't. Not many men are staring at their televisions in disbelief at how much men suck. I think they should have made it a bit more personal, rather than just having men as a collective staring at footage of all the horrible things men have done, like it's 9/11 footage, start off with men being comfortable with their own sexism, since most men are, and then frame the narrative from there. Otherwise, you're basically just showing a bunch of men who are comfortable with their sexism, footage of men who aren't comfortable with their sexism, and it's going to go over men's heads. Or okay, start with the feminazi Gestapo about to execute a man, and then have him reflect on all the things men did that led to the Great Female Uprising. It would be like those Planet of the Apes prequels, except with women. But yeah, I mean, really, what's the point in any of this? Nobody's mind is going to be changed. See, what Gillette should have done is promoted actual feminist theory, or pledged to donate their money to some kind of feminist charity. Or maybe they should have dropped the needless gendering of their products with the woman's line known as Venus, just a thought. If I was actually being serious in suggesting what they should do, they would be better off making a video encouraging a general sense of self-improvement among men, with the rejection of sexism being an aspect of that. I mean, the more I think about it, the more I think of better ways Gillette could have got this message across. You could have a dad in the kitchen with a Me Too news report on in the background. Then his son comes in and reveals he's been bullied. And the dad could say something about how, as a young man, he needs to reject aggression in favor of compassion. Or you could do shorter adverts, like one of them, some guys are changing in a changing room, and one of them is shaving with the Gillette brand razor for a closer shave than any other razor could provide. And then the guys are making some sexist comments. So our Gillette user turns around and chastises them, and then it flashes up like, Gillette, the best a man can get. Or a guy is in a business conference and he's shaving with his Gillette brand razor for a closer shave than any other razor can provide, and a woman is talking until she gets rudely man-interrupted, at which point our Gillette user hero steps in and says, so let her finish her point, and then we get our little the best a man can get thing. Or there's this girl at a party, and some guy is being all touchy-feely despite her protestations, until our hero walks up, razor in hand, giving himself a nice close shave, and he says, Oi! No means no, you dick. Again, I should clarify I don't care, and I have no real problem triggering the reactionaries, but there's something to be said for presenting your opinions in a way that's a bit more diplomatic. And yes, I'm assuming that Gillette actually hold to these opinions about gender, although obviously you can never be sure with these kinds of marketing ploys. It should be noted that I am not a part of Gillette's core demographic, since I use razors with one blade, and the idea of a razor with multiple blades seems ridiculously extravagant to me. I use new razors on my face, and after they start to get blunt a bit and begin to tug at the hair on my face as I'm shaving, I downgrade them to shaving my balls. And you might think that's a bit strange because balls are quite sensitive, and therefore shaving them with a semi-dull blade would be an awful experience, but I think ball hair is less intense than facial hair, so it doesn't take as much to shave it. And then once a razor reaches a point where I'm scraping away at my ballsack with a dull blade and it's doing literally nothing, then I throw it out. I get my money's worth out of those cheap razors. The only way I could be less of a cuck to big razor would be if I was Sikh. Anyway, so the angle I actually want to talk about is all the people saying, hey, have you noticed how all the white people are bad and all the black people are good? And then I remembered why it is that I like to avoid these discussions outside of my safe space, because I've seen people posting and upvoting literal Nazi propaganda about how cultural Marxism is trying to make black people look good. Here's the thing though, the Zionist occupation government can demonize white dudes as much as they like as far as I'm concerned, because despite all the demonization of white people, do you know which group of people are still subject to the most suspicion in their day-to-day lives? Non-white people. When somebody crosses the street because they see a white dude coming at them from the other direction, then you can say this demonization of white people has gone too far. Up until that point, demonizing white people and glorifying black people is just a way to address the overriding societal imbalance. There are still people out there who are scared of black people. People who are forced to cope with that fear by masturbating to interracial porn and posting racist diatribes on Pole. Gillette is doing this for the benefit of people like that. Those are the people who should really be grateful for all this pro-black propaganda. Racists. If you're a racist watching this right now, think about how much time you've wasted cry-wanking to Aryan beauties being impaled by big, strong black dudes. Think about how much anger and frustration you felt writing shitty opinions in the YouTube comment section because one time a black guy went to fist bump you and you shat yourself because you thought he was going to punch you. This is an intervention. As a spokesperson for the cultural Marxists, I'm telling you that we won't stop showing black people as nice and friendly and wonderful and white people as evil and aggressive and horrible until you stop being afraid of people based on the colour of their skin. And one day, after many, many adverts showing black people as great and white people as awful, the imbalance will be addressed. And you will understand that all people are basically equal levels of awful, and your mind will be at ease. And perhaps you might take a moment, one night, to get out of the bed that you share with your wife and her boyfriend, and say thank you to Gillette. Anyway, goodbye for now, and subscribe and like, I guess. Sorry this video has basically pushed everything back in my schedule. I've got this list of videos that I need to make, and it ain't getting any shorter.